When Donald Trump promised to drain the swamp, the establishment laughed. Well, they're not laughing anymore. Laura Loomer walked into the Oval Office with what she called a binder of receipts, detailed evidence of disloyalty within the National Security Council. And within hours, 3 NSC staffers were fired. This isn't reality TV. This is the real world consequence of betraying the America First agenda. And according to multiple sources, including Axios and CBS News, Loomer presented Trump with evidence that several NSC staffers were actively undermining his policies. These weren't just policy disagreements, they were deliberate acts of sabotage from within. And Trump didn't hesitate, he cleaned house immediately. Now remember what happened during Trump's first term? Constant leaks, anonymous sources, the resistance inside the administration. Well, not this time. The president is sending a crystal clear message. Get on board with America First or get out of the White House. Now, President Trump just purged traitors from his National Security Council. I've got all the details. Wait till you see what happened. But what about the traitors hiding in your own body? Just like Laura Loomer exposed disloyal staffers with her binder of receipts, our friends at Sculpt Nation have identified a common food that's betraying your testosterone levels from within. It's not junk food or sugar. It's something you've been told is healthy. This infiltrator devastates your hormones, zapping your energy and strength, just like the deep state operatives sabotaging our government. The parallel striking. Both operate in secret while causing massive damage. But there's hope. Just as Trump immediately fired the NSC traitors, you can eliminate this testosterone-killing food from your diet. Sculpt Nation's clients who've done so are building muscle, burning fat, and regaining their energy. Identify your body's hidden enemy at sculptnation.com/NNN. It's linked down below. Okay, this was big news that just broke at the White House just a few hours ago. Tom McCullough was there on the scene as it happened. Check this out.
These are focused on. Hey guys, it's Tom McCullough, White House correspondent for the Next News Network, and I'm reporting directly from the heart of the swamp, but the one that Trump is quickly draining. So, just in, 2 senior Biden holdovers have just been fired from the National Security Council, confirming what investigative reporter Laura Loomer has been sounding the alarm for on months. And yes, Laura Loomer was just here at the White House.
National Security Council, what are we learning about that?
What we've learned is that at least 3 NSC staffers have been let go so far, and it sounds like more firings are coming. This is happening after the president met yesterday with Laura Loomer, who is a right-wing personality. She does not have a role in this White House, but she's a sometime travel companion of President Trump. She came here to the White House yesterday, sat down with him.
She's a right-wing personality. Ooh, right-wing. Yeah.
And according to sources who spoke to Margaret Brennan and to Jennifer Jacobs, she presented President Trump with opposition research on NSC staffers who she considers either not sufficiently loyal or as having neoconservative views. And the firing took place after that. And these are not just minor staffers. By the way, Liz, these are Brian Walsh. He's the senior director for intelligence at the NSC. The senior director for legislative affairs at the NSC was let go as well. And again, we are expecting that these firings are not over yet.
So that's confirmation straight from the source. 2 top-level Biden-era officials inside the National Security Council gone. The senior director of intelligence and the senior director for legislative affairs both removed. And according to insiders close to the situation, the purge is not over. Now, here's where it gets even more important. Laura Loomer, the same journalist who's been publicly exposing these embedded Biden loyalists, was just seen at the White House days ago. She was mocked for calling out the deep state. She was ridiculed for demanding accountability, but she was right. And now she's inside advising, informing, and finally being heard. And this is no coincidence. Her reporting has been laser focused on one thing, getting rid of the corrupt insiders who used the Biden for years to burrow deep inside the federal government, especially within the NSC, one of the most powerful and hidden agencies in D.C. And now we're seeing the result. These weren't low-level desk jockeys, these were gatekeepers, people controlling intelligence flow, legislation strategy, and foreign policy recommendations. Biden's people still in place, still pulling strings until now. That is exactly what President Trump promised to do in the second term: clean house, strip away the layers of unaccountable bureaucracy, and restore the power of the government to we, the people, not the political ruling elite class. And let's be honest, this purge wouldn't be happening if Trump wasn't back in the Oval Office. It is a direct result of his leadership, his agenda, and his willingness to surround himself with people who tell the truth. So Laura Loomer, she did warn us. She named names, she stood her ground, and now she's been proven right, one firing at a time. So this is what America First looks like, guys, not just in speeches, but in literal action. The swamp didn't drain itself. Trump is literally draining it. I could feel the suction, and the deep state is finally on the defense. Again, guys, Tom McCullough reporting from the White House.
Thank you for that, Tom. Oh, and guess what? Apparently, Tim Young writes, I did not have CNN reporting on Laura Loomer's reporting on my 2025 bingo card. I love how angry Caitlin Collins is here. Oh, wow. And then we've actually got Laura Loomer in her own words. We'll bring that up in just a moment. But let's relish in this moment from CNN for a second, shall we?
Including Vance, the times that he disagreed with it. Anyway, but on this, it is important to note that Laura Loomer is driving this. She is a far-right activist. She is someone who said that if Vice President Harris won the White House during the election, that it would smell like curry. Those were comments that were denounced by Republican allies of the president, including Vance, the times that he disagreed with it. And so she is the one who's really driving this, and it speaks to the level of influence that
and
she
let's
has.
talk about the impact on national.
Well, let's talk about curry, though. I mean, isn't Kamala Harris Indian? Isn't that one of their main dietary ingredients? I mean, is she wrong? I mean, come on, guys. I mean, talk about fake news, right?
National security, who they are, and why this matters so much for how the national security of the United States of America is run and who's doing it.
Well, what's fascinating about this is that the three staffers that have been fired here are outside of Washington Beltway national security circles. These are pretty anonymous people. They are foreign policy minds that have serious resumes, that have worked serious jobs on Capitol Hill, in the State Department, in think tanks. You know, these are people that are well known in national security circles because they are longtime practitioners of foreign policy, experienced in making that kind of policy. These are the people that are sort of engaged in the nitty-gritty of actually designing national security policy for the president. But they're not big public figures. You know, they're people like Brian Walsh.
Okay, so she says they're not big public figures. And that's exactly how the deep state operates. These are people that you have no idea who their names are. They operate in the shadows, inside the halls of power. But guess what? Laura Loomer figured out who they were, did some due diligence, Oppo research, brings it to Trump, and what does he do? He says, you're fired. Right? Boom. Let's hear Laura Loomer in her own words.
We do see a lot of, I just think that there needs to be more appreciation demonstrated to Trump loyalists because unfortunately, we do see a lot of gatekeeping in the GOP. And the thing that I harped on the most during the campaign season was, you know, the importance of vetting. We need to vet people so that we don't have the same nightmare that we saw happen in the first administration, where people who are disloyal to President Trump curry favor once the election's over, after, you know, shit talking him the entire election season, and then they just get to go, oh, you know what, I'm gonna sneak in and I'm gonna reap all the benefits and the glory and the praise of getting a White House job.
Sure.
I thought that we were keeping a binder full of receipts. I don't know if some of the people on the campaign meant it when they said they were keeping the receipts, but I meant it.
Yeah.
I literally have a binder of receipts, and I know who's loyal and I know who is disloyal. I just think that...
Yeah, and she brought that binder in. Buzz Patterson, fire the leakers and keep it going. Quote tweeting Alex Stone, President Trump has just fired 3 White House national security staffers after meeting with Laura Loomer yesterday. White House officially fires 3 NSC staffers after Trump meets far-right activist Laura Loomer. And okay, this is a CBS, ABC News. Oh, ABC News is freaking out, of course.
A handful. And we have more breaking news. Sources tell ABC News the White House has fired a handful of national...
We have more breaking news. Laura Loomer showed up at the White House. Now people are fired. Breaking news. Far-right extremist shows up at the White House. Oppo research. Breaking news. Shut up.
Security Council staffers. Sources say the decision came after President Trump met with far-right activist Laura Loomer, who made the recommendations on who to fire. Senior reporter Catherine Falder's here with more on that. Catherine, what more can you tell us about these firings?
Yeah, Catherine. Can you tell us how right-wing Laura Loomer is, please? Can you tell us how evil she is, please? I mean, you guys are the mainstream media, after all. Please tell us. Let's see. Roll tape.
So we know that a handful of National Security Council staffers have been told that they no longer work at the NSC. Now, this comes, of course, as Laura Loomer, you just mentioned there, the far-right political activist, had a meeting with Donald Trump in the Oval Office yesterday. This meeting occurred before Trump made his announcement on tariffs. And at that meeting, at least we're told by sources, were the Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, the Vice President, Laura Loomer, of course, and President Trump. Now, Loomer has made significant staffing recommendations to Donald Trump on who she believes should be working in the White House at the NSC. So the timing of this is quite interesting. Just a day after that meeting, this happens. And of course, her biggest concern and complaint, frankly, has been that she doesn't believe that there are people working at the National Security Council who are aligned with President Trump's agenda. Now, the timing also comes as we have been talking a lot about Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, and his use of Signal. Now, it doesn't appear that Loomer's meeting and Waltz and the use of Signal are correlated in any way. I'm sure.
She just had to throw that in there, though. Signal. Yeah. This comes at the same time, the Signal thing with Mike Waltz. But clearly there was no correlation. But I just want to bring that up to keep it top of mind so we can keep that narrative going. Yeah. I mean, she literally says there's no correlation, but then why bring it up? See? That's fake news. Fake news right there. Resist the mainstream. Trump fires 3 National Security Council staffers after meeting with Laura Loomer. The move comes a day after a Wednesday Oval Office meeting where she argued several staffers were not committed to Trump's agenda. Here we have more. Dustin Mills. Laura Loomer met Wednesday with Trump in the Oval Office, pressed him to fire national security staffers. Trump may act on some of Loomer's recommendations. She walked into the White House. Right on, Laura. Right on. Oh, we have more. What is this? This is more from CNN.
Of national security.
What are you learning?
I mean, the media is hyperventilating that Laura Loomer has the president's ear. God bless her, man. God bless her.
Well, as you said, Wolf, the White House has fired at least 3 members of the National Security Council, all staff of National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. And it does come after that Oval Office meeting yesterday between President Trump and Laura Loomer, as you mentioned, a far-right activist. She's someone who has once claimed that 9/11 was an inside job. I'd note that they've had a close relationship in the past, but there's many people who are also very close to the president who have, in the past, urged him to distance himself from her. But look, Loomer, we are told, went into that Oval Office with a list.
Look at the picture they chose of her. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, be careful what she said about 9/11, right?
For the president, essentially arguing that many different members of the National Security Council were not loyal to the president. I was told that these 3 different firings were a direct result of what Loomer had told the president, what he and she had divulged to him during that meeting. The 3 officials who we know who are fired, but again, this is at least 3, include Brian Walsh. He's a director for intelligence. He's also a top staffer, or was a top staffer for now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, but for when he was a senator. Also, Thomas Boudry, a senior director for legislative affairs who previously worked in Waltz's congressional office. And then also David Feith, the senior director overseeing technology and national security. Now, of course, what we have to note as well that this all comes after there's been a lot of scrutiny of National Security Advisor Michael Waltz following his role in creating that signal chain, the story that really
Of course, they got to bring it up here, too. You see what they're doing? They keep planting these narrative seeds, trying to connect the dots where there are none. The last clip, she said, but there's no connection at all here. Let's see if she says the same thing.
Up last week, we know that behind the scenes there's been a lot of frustration, including from President Donald Trump himself, with Waltz and some of the handling of that. So there could be more firings. We know that there's been some tension as well with Waltz's deputy, Alex Wong. We are told as of now he is not among, or we believe he is not among those who were fired. But more of this could definitely come following that meeting yesterday.
Good. Fire them all. Fire them all, man. Okay, so literally, Buzz Patterson put it perfectly. fire the leakers, and keep it going. That's exactly what's happening. This is precision loyalty warfare, and it's long overdue. For too long, the administrative state has operated as a fourth branch of government, unelected, unaccountable, and actively hostile to the will of the American people. As you saw, Overton News called it exactly right. President Trump is protecting his agenda. Because that's what this is about. Not personalities, not politics, it's about policy. The American people voted for border security, economic nationalism, and America First foreign policy. And now, anyone standing in the way is getting removed. So here's the question every American should be asking. Why were disloyal operatives placed in sensitive national security positions to begin with? Who put them there? What damage did they already do before being exposed? Drop a comment below. Support our coverage of the Deep State Purge with your Next News gear, available at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.